to the New Hampshire Institute of Art at the Sharon Arts Centre campus gallery. This is part of the Sharon Arts Centre campus. And welcome to the Masters of Fine Art exhibition presentations for the January Residency 2015. First of all, for people who aren't here and for us as well, we're going to just identify ourselves with loud cheers. So first of all, we have the Creative Writing Program. What was that?
We're tired.
Those are tired. I'll come back to you. I'll come back. Right, writing for stage and screen.
Yeah!
Visual arts. Who's that other program? Photography. Good job. So this evening we're going to have some readings from the Creative Writing Program and the Writing for Stage and Screen Program, and then I'll ask the Visual Arts Program and the Photography Program just to identify the people so that you know who is to blame for the stuff on the walls, and then I'll say some thank yous, and then we'll have some more wine, and then a bit more wine, and then we'll go home. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Monica Wilson. She's the Director of the Creative Writing Program.
So when Allison conceived of this MFA program more than 2 years ago, one of the driving principles was that the 4 artistic disciplines, 2 visual, 2 in writing, would work side by side and even cross-pollinate in electives and special workshops, and through some interdisciplinary exploration, a possibility space could emerge where art and writing students reconceptualize their creative processes and materials. So this residency, in an attempt to nurture this idea of hybridity, I decided that the creative writing students would write and present an ekphrastic piece. Ekphrasis is the writing of art. Writing gives art a voice, it speaks for art. Think Homer's description of Achilles' shield in the Iliad. In an ekphrastic piece, a writer might describe the work of art, might pull out what's hidden or not obvious in the work of art, and its essence, but also might respond to the work creatively in prose or poetry, and that's what the MFA students in creative writing have done. So last Sunday, I sent the writers over to the Amherst building, where all of the visual artists and photographers have their work pinned up for critiques, and each one picked a piece, and they are represented on this wall and on this panel. And our students have worked and reworked their flash pieces all week. And I'd like to thank faculty Tim Horvath, Mark Slater, and Emily Bradley for their tireless feedback throughout this process. So I present to you the creative writing students with their ekphrastic pieces.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth. This is my 4th residency and final semester. The ekphrastic piece that I chose was the Buddha painting over there with the blue background. The painters did not speak English. These men studied the language of icons, of pigments and shades. Distemper on cotton with bristles. I merely put pencil to paper, mapped out a grid, and sketched the contents. Eyes cast downward, lips curled, bun balanced like a crown. I drew a dozen Buddha heads, and each one was wrong. Asymmetrical eyebrows, a cleft chin, gaping nostrils, 3 weeks and a dozen penciled Buddhas, all wrong. What responsibility do I have to this tradition, this culture, these paintings? What is my obligation with the knowledge that I have? A dozen Buddha heads was enough to know there's an irony to a Buddha on a painted pedestal on the floor. Principles of Tibetan Thangka paintings place a deity on a throne of lotus leaves, and then we leave them on the ground, we Americans. It was like this in my mother's house. The 2 Thangka paintings I brought back from India as scrolls are now flattened between panes of glass, encased in gilded frames, yet lying on the carpeted floor at the end of the hallway. A mirror hangs above the paintings, as if to say this external representation of self is more important than your religion. I leave them there, the icons, the pigments, the shades, on the carpet. I make no move to lift them back up onto walls. Darge was my host father in India. At 6 a.m. he offered food, water, candles, and incense to 3 golden statues ensconced in glass. He mumbled mantras, held hands together in prayer. Windows spanned the length of the north and west walls, and he sat soaking sunlight onto hand-stretched canvases. Half-finished paintings were laced to the wall by string, held taut, an invisible easel. At night we watched Tom and Jerry while he prayed. I had not yet drawn a dozen Buddha heads. I did not yet know what it meant to draw a dozen Buddha heads, the reiteration of it. Darge's paintings were commissions from monasteries and Buddhist institutions, but business was slow. What happens to a Thangka painter when there is no more need for Thangkas?
Hello, my name is Nicholas Bover. I am 3rd semester. I shouldn't have to think about that. The piece that I wrote about is far into that wall over there, the wood piece. And actually wrote a poem for this one, so it'll be a lot quicker. And the title of it is, Forgot There Was Such a Thing as Hubris. Upon the way of wood, outdo the way of wood, and fall through the grains, a sepia sieve, down to swallow splinters that skewer limbs and bruise so eyes howl. Wonder, where ends a flow inches deep? Where ends a flow that swallowed skin and muscle and bone, but spared the eye, and spared the eye besotted, so you can howl with a mouthful of pulp, chameleon. The bold striations of your eyes choke wide and fixed, to be always, but always be, a stain upon the wood that you so sought to be.
My name is Jennifer Valentine. I am a 1st semester student, creative writing, obviously. My piece is untitled, but it is The Mouse on the Wall over there. There is a wonderful mix of pieces. This is not one in particular one I chose, but it was of mice in various situations of being killed in crazy ways. But I love the capture of both frustration and humor at the same time. So this piece is called The Shoulders of Mice. A tail thought to be long and free, perhaps whip-like in moments of defense, is actually not helpful at all. It is nothing more than a nuisance. To get mashed under piles of books, pinched between Legos by careless fingers, frostbitten black when left out in the cold, or even snatched off by portly chickens. It is not a beautiful blessing, as may be to others, but rather a target, a tool in which the cruel can ensnare him, lift him and spin him around in yoo-hoo bottles, until he loses all sense of direction and feels ill. Claws sharp and strong, yet never kissed by soil. Paws vainly gripping nothing, as they always had. Teeth glistening sharp, yet never known the depths of flesh. Shoulders pressed down, stone by stone, day by day. Shoulders eventually carrying weights not thought believable for someone so small. Beady eyes mashed tight, cutting off all that he might see in the promise that he will never have to see that again. Chest broad with heart, now able to weather any blow. Then it changed. He bit. He fought and clawed and saw and endured beyond the eyes of anyone, beyond the reach of those who may or may not care. He became lost and free, hosting the glow of satisfaction, the strength in his legs, the dreams so yearned and cared for, now in reach, the dreams he had only dared allow to dance in his mind in the sleepless hours of his cage. of starry skies and acorns and fat females, finally, the beginning of a good life. But he feels a stirring inside. Dismissed as nothing of concern, but he knows better. It is something. Something that can't be whipped or bitten beyond the reach of claws. Maybe not yet. He heaves the air, the open air, but his guts stretch and press for release, squashing out all enticement of acorns. Then, with a thrust, one final breath-stealing burst, the shoulders jerk back, the tail snaps straight, the eyes mash tight again, then fade down to the tiny creature. Cooing up through the toothless smile, dripping acid down his chest, dissolving it like bubbling brie. Ah, he didn't even get to try brie.
Hi, I'm Alex Woodford. I'm in my first residency, and I'm doing an acrostic piece on this photograph here. It's by Cheryl, how do you say your name, Cheryl? Cheryl Zabisky, and it's called Street Meeting. And this piece is called Time and Place. I don't know where it is, but I know where it is. I know the light and the tight stone surround street, the cages of narrow balconies and ironwork curlicues in their dark corner of this stranger's photograph. It reeks of Spain, where I was made, the place my great somebody left to cure Puerto Rico of its epidemic, cholera, long before my grandmother landed in New York. Where my father ran amok, fueled by wine and lust for life, as a student in the Spain of Franco, and where he met an artist friend he'd know a lifetime. Where my parents honeymooned in spectacular hotels, so cheap at the time. Where a few years later, in a massive building that stands still, overlooking a fountain, a metro, and teeming humanity, the concept of me made a quiet debut and made my mother ill whenever she turned a corner and met the smell of diesel exhaust and garlic. Where we took trips, again and again, imagine my mother's chagrin, to this dark-lit, sun-seared place where only Dad could speak the language. Where the food so often made me sick, and my brother once, at the end of a long ride in a rental coche, back from visiting castles, ate teta, tit cheese as my father liked to call it, then puked all over the interior, which horrified my mother, and she spent what seemed like hours scrubbing off the stench and gluey mess from the upholstery of the little European car. Where on break from my college year abroad in another country, my friend and I spent the time with my family in the dry hills of the Olive Grove South. And they read a letter she'd left out, complaining about the vacation we'd taken her on. And they hated her for it. Which, of course, I did too. But I hated them more for never letting me forget it. I got sick, threw up in the toilet, then curled up on the cold tiled floor and thought I'd die. The next day, they had a leather-faced goat-herd medicine guy check me out. He asked my dad interpreting the color of my pee. I said yellow. He nodded and said I was okay. Where we all went again a few years before my father died, the time between Christmas and New Year's. The weather wasn't cold and the city was full of life, with everyone wearing crazy rainbow afro wigs, and the Plaza Mayor hummed and honked like a carnival, full of tourists and artists, parents and kids, and the barely perceptible breath of living sculptures. On this particular trip, I spent time wandering the streets and feeling strangely alive, breathing old city air, feeling the grit coating the stone streets under my moving feet, enjoying the weight of the sight of ironwork, watching so many strangers go about their lives and feeling and tasting, all but touching, the vivid light, splitting the world into illusion of black and white, stabbing the street awake.
Hi, I'm Nick Cheney, and this is my fourth residency. My inspiration comes from Gretchen Woodman's Deer Face. Where's Gretchen? Is she here? Oh, there she is. Thank you, Gretchen. This is for Karen, who never complains about my coughing and wheezing. Wall-gazing Daruma said, freeing oneself from words is liberation. How to distill one's feelings about a moment, or an image, or the feeling that you can't breathe. Imagine this white space is the darkness of middle night. I can't tell you any more about this drawing than I can tell you the thoughts I'll have when the deer jumps in front of my car. Meta confession number 1. I've had all week to write this, but I only wrote it an hour ago. For a moment, put aside your preconceptions of artist as penitent and audience as confessor. Grant me absolution. Real confession number 1. For weeks, I felt death on my shoulder. Real confession number 1. For weeks, I felt death nearby, as if on my shoulder. More often than I deserve, a creature comes to me in the darkness, transmuting in the way that this piece does. I have no insight, only a moment with the truth. Meta confession number 2. I told you I wrote this an hour ago, but the truth is, I'm improvising. In these eyes, I see the face of Bodhidharma, who for 7 years faced the cave wall in deepest concentration. But even Bodhidharma could fall asleep. Disgusted, he cut off his eyelids and dashed them upon the ground. From them grew tea. Don't confuse my visitor death with the devil, for death is a deer. On Tuesday, I saw this face facing me as I labored to breathe until the sun came up. Perhaps that is what happens on nighttime's frozen highway when the wheel studs are all breaking off and you make it home with a single lug nut. These are the eyes of Da Mo, who said, Buddhas move freely through birth and death, appearing and disappearing at will.
Thanks, Nick. We all dread following Nick. My turn this year. My name is Martha Stavro. This is my 3rd residency, and it's really hard to believe. My piece is in response to Stephen McBride's adorable dog photo. So, there is the gaze, the one of utter abandon, a combination of curiosity, pure love, and pure trust for who he is focused on. As if to say, do with me what you will. I am yours wholly, sloppily, and for eternity. I love dog love. Then it dawns on me. It reminds me of her that day on the beach under the boardwalk. I was shooting senior pictures, her senior pictures. We raced under the boardwalk seeking relief in its shadiness. The sand was wet and easy. Pose for me, I said. She shrugged and glanced at me sideways with her sharp blue eyes. They remind me of the Mediterranean, harsh and beautiful. I remember a walk along the winding coast just south of Cannes. Leaning over a post, I had looked down over the cliffs and saw the gorgeous green and blue lapping the coastline. The interior was littered with mangled, rusted cars that must have careened over the edge, hitting the bottom and then burst into flames. Just go hug the post. She hesitated, dragging her feet through the sand, then she pivoted sharply, with less enthusiasm, wrapped her arms around the weathered post, rested her soft cheek against the rough timber, and gazed at me. The corners of her mouth curved up slowly. She was not staring at me with utter abandon, but there was a happiness there. Maybe a glimmer of trust. The daughter by default. Mine for now. We may crash and burn, but right now it seems she almost likes me. She almost trusts me. And there's plenty of time.
And I've written my piece on this photograph by Glenn Sheffer, and I'm the lucky one who gets to be front and center in front of her large piece of artwork. So his photograph is not titled, but my piece is titled What Happens Near the End. My feet sink in the sand, which sucks the pad of each toe, hungry leech. An evening tide retreats from the shore, dropping treasures, shattered bits, white, blue, olive against pale freckles of sand. I grasp the edge of a sand dollar, grainy scrap. Some arrive upon the beach whole, bleached skeletons, arms stretched wide, symmetrical, rare. Seeking beauty in the broken, I revel not only in the 5 points of an uninterrupted circle, but also in the jagged edges of a shard, the smooth inner realms of an urchin's shell, dyed dull brown by life in the depths. Browns and blues and grays, like the skin on my grandpa's elbows as he lay wasting away. I collected that too, the body's broken pieces, shed by an incremental and spiraling departure of life. The day draws to a close. The sunbathers and fishermen leave the sand, drifting back toward home. The imprints left from their towels soon to be cast in indigo and violet beneath the soft moon. The body is so many fragments, each in its precise spot, like the careful arrangement of a conchologist's collection. His eyes, pale blue swirls of mollusk shells, sunk in their sockets, deep in the sand. Legs curled, knees jutting, the scraggy edge of a splintered shell. Skin, the bleached white of a sun-baked sand dollar, bluing around the edges, around the hands and the feet. Sleep consumes all, and the breath becomes wet and ragged, tidal rushing.
Hello, I'm Lisa Tessier, and this was my 3rd residency. And I actually asked Monica if I could break the rules, because the first painting I saw, I had a very strong reaction and I just walked away. And then I saw another painting and had a strong reaction of another kind. But I couldn't let go of the first one. And I realized that both spoke to me in the same way. So my piece is Tim Lemire's The Sniffer, which is this blue guy as well as Joe Combs, The Arrow Collar Man. This is called Seabird. With Easter's wind came news of you, the child that changed my life. How could I know the joy you'd bring while wrapped around my suffering? My sister cried, our single life died, like seabirds gone to sea. Why this child I don't deserve, a love I really need? I was a child till you were the child, racing along with me. Bubbly blue, shit-eating grin. I hold my breath and take you in. Thongs and panties and all that stuff, reminding me that you've grown up, a sailor on the sea. Eyes pooled with depth, the man you've become, the genuine one, a life raft washed upon the shore of my mistakes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Alex Wall. This is my 2nd residency, and the piece that spoke to me was this gorgeously textured photograph here by Stephen McBride. It is untitled, as is my poem. The forest beckons to the explorer, to the child, nobbled, creeping, seeking. Limbs persevere and pilfer through the earth, exploring with barked fingers through ancient needled floors, holding down the ground, rooting deep for burrows, silent, steady witnesses to the secrets of the fox. The tallest branches a scaffolding for sky, tickling lazy clouds, teasing out their sunset glory. They splay like vacillating arteries, pumping blood of sap and sugar. I hold translucent skin to sun and see mimicry in my veins. A cacophony of growth stems from a single seed, bursting forth, flourishing to the song of birds who rest and mind their nests, persist for sake of life. Timeless soldiers in the woods, watching over ferns and moss, entangling passersby who pause too long to ponder. They question the destination of wandering rabbits and their brood, and provoke a quiet meditation in sedentary neighbor stones. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Ed Ting. I think most of you know me. I went to my fourth residency, and my image is Cheryl's photograph in the upper right-hand corner. It's a bed. I give you love as deep as the roots of the oak tree. I couldn't recall exactly when I first heard those words, but it was likely after the first time on those sheets. I just bought the bed and the sheets were new, still creased and stiff and scratchy beneath us. We made plans lying on those sheets. After getting married, we'd travel through Europe, start our own business when we got back, and then move in together into a big house. There were times I thought we'd wear out those sheets. We'd tell the Sheltie and then the first and second and then the third kittens not to jump up on those sheets. And when they purred or wagged their tails or tongues at us, or rubbed their noses in our faces, we'd let them anyway. We sat at the edge of the bed and cried when she got the diagnosis. We held on to each other and swore we'd fight it together, lying back on the sheets and reading brochures with titles like Cancer and You, a Survivor's Guide. 11 months later, I hadn't gotten a single night's sleep. And after the mastectomies, the hysterectomy, and the second round of chemo, she'd had enough. She stopped the treatments and came home, leaving me to watch as she lay on the sheets and as the illness took her away from me, piece by piece. During the hours she became awake, she became demanding and then abusive. Clean me. Change me. I'm going to leave you and find a real man, not one who looks at books. I had given up trying to keep the sheets clean every day. Some days, I confess, I even skipped it, knowing she didn't care anymore. One night, I went to get her anti-nausea medication and the warm cup of milk she needed to keep it down. When I got back, I found her crying. I couldn't tell if the tears were from anger, frustration, uncertainty, or gratitude. All I knew is they were inside, the same tears running down my face. "Why didn't you just leave me?" she said. I lost her a week later. I stripped the bed for the last time and put the sheets away for good. In the linen closet, I found the poem, handwritten on a card which she'd left on the pillow for me to find the morning after the first night on the sheets. I give you love as eternal as the stars. I give you love that shines brightly as the moon. I give you love as deep as the roots of the oak tree. I give you love.
And I wrote my piece in response to Brett's piece, which you all saw as soon as you walked in. And his piece is titled, "The Phoenix Finds Fire for Fools Who Hear It, Ground Zero to Hero from Here." And my piece is entitled, "Past Lives." Acid trip girl dances most nights. Comes down the stairs hugging herself. She moves off beat, just outside the music. Her eyes, day-glow body paint suspended above a dirty checkered floor. I think she's looking at me. In a past life, she's bent over and I'm behind her, and her head hits against the wood panel. My hands around her neck. She bucks and grabs and reaches, and then she's still. Wrong to think this way, wrong, bad, I'm bad, the way her head hits and the soft blue bruises on her neck. I see them through the bright yellow and red. She wants. She doesn't know what she wants. I want. I do. Everything bright and hot and not quite real. There's a head floating above everything. A guy head. I think it's my dad. He laughs at me and they point. They all do. In a past life, I am bent over. My husband behind me. My head smacking wood. He laughs while he holds me down. I don't move. I pretend not to notice. I was a 50s housewife, and I liked being pregnant. It gave me really big sweater boobs. I baked. I drank Manhattans and smoked cigarettes while I was pregnant. My dad laughed at me and they pointed. He liked the way my boobs looked in a sweater. I was Cleopatra. I was Einstein. Now I watch my acid trip girl dance around. She hugs herself so tight coming down the stairs. She spins above the checkered floor. My dad floats. Everything I do. He laughs and they point. She looks right at me like she's seeing all my past lives. Like she knows she's already dead. Thank you.
Wow. A round of applause for the creative arts. I think that probably stimulated a lot of conversation, which is fantastic. Because that's the first time that the people who had their art chosen, well, some of them knew that they had their art chosen, and also heard sort of a non-critical, very critical feedback, which is a really fascinating experience, I'm sure. So now I want to introduce Buzz McLaughlin, who's the director of the Writing for Stage and Screen program. We're here for another like 5 hours.
That's right, we're going to read all these scripts. Well, all I can say is that I'm extremely proud and like a proud dad to all these wonderful students in our program. And what I'm holding in my hand are the 11 scripts that they've been working on all semester. And they were all read at this residency, all 11. We brought in a ton of professional actors to read each one of these full-length scripts, screenplays and plays. And we had lengthy discussions and critiques on each of them afterwards. These are still works in progress, but I just wanted to hold this up. This is our work. This is our art, you know. But it's all a means to an end. And they went through up to 100 or more pages of pre-writing work before they started writing drafts. Each of these probably went through 3 or 4 drafts before this draft that I'm holding up that they actually brought to the residency that was read by the actors. But what we're going to do tonight, and I'm not really sure how this is going to work because I gave it over to Steve Ashworth to put together. He's one of the fourth semester students. Yeah. But I said, keep it professional, keep it moving. But you're going to hear a little piece of these tonight. So Steve, take it away.
Thank you, Buzz. Keep it professional and keep it moving. 50% of that instruction I understand. You know, the thing that writing for stage and screen students fear more than anything else is following Buzz McLaughlin. Thank you, Buzz, for scaring us this week, all week, every hour. Frightening us every second, particularly tonight with your final coaching tips to get us excited before we came up here. Don't let me down. word after the comma, Steve. Followed by those congenial, supportive words that he always says to us, those beautiful, beautiful words, those 3 words that bring in the minds of all writing for stage and screen students. You'll regret it. Time Saturday, January the 3rd, 2015. It is 7 p.m. in the evening. We see a writer coming towards us. A very intelligent writer, Herculean in his intelligence. He's not only intelligent, he knows he's smarter than all the rest of us combined. Owen Robertson.
Fact of the matter is I'm the dumbest guy in the room, but that's okay. Thank you, Steve. First, I'm going to do what all actors do is create space for performance.
Yeah.
My name is Owen Robertson. I'm in my 2nd residency. My piece that I have labored on for 2.5 years is called Creating Monsters, which is the story of Mary Shelley as she spent the summer of 18.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I shouldn't have behaved the way I did. I was scared. I needed time to think.
I really have to go.
Greg.
Please don't.
Well, I've learned so much, Greg, being away about myself, about us.
So have I. I've learned I have a heart. And you did a fantastic job at beating me up for it.
Greg.
Thank you for the coffee.
7 o'clock, still Sunday, January the 4th, 2015. We're actually doing 2 readings on this day rather than 1. Why? Because it's my birthday. What a rhetorical question. This author does not depend on intelligence, Herculean or otherwise. No. It's too much for me. This author certainly would not be in the realm of what one would say. How would we say it? Beautiful. However, the author is large and Herculean in his presence, and he looks as he wanders towards the stage somewhat Bigfoot-like. A.J. Delott.
This is my 3rd residency, and the title of my piece is called Becoming Bigfoot. It's about a man who believes so blindly in Bigfoot that he decides to dress up as Bigfoot and convince his town and his family that he is in fact not crazy. The scene that you're going to see with these 2 guys is set in West Virginia, and it's after David has tried for the first time to scare people, actually campers, and has instead managed to fall into a pond. And he's now walked back to his truck and is greeted by his best friend, Bo. I'll read the stage directions. So we begin interior, Bo's truck, night, seconds later. David climbs into the truck. He looks awful. Water drips from everywhere. Branches of holly bush stick out of the ghillie suit.
I didn't hear any screams.
There were screams, all right, but they had nothing to do with Bigfoot.
What happened?
I almost walked into a spider.
You know there are 10,000 spiders per acre?
You can't be serious.
Nope, true story. What happened after the spider?
Homo erectus.
Gay what?
I didn't have the desired effect.
So, you giving up?
David doesn't answer.
Now listen to me. I had to steal those diving fins from my mother. She'd been saving them for her Hawaii trip for nearly 10 years. And that suit, I had to pay nearly $100 for that suit. And you have about ruined it. And I want to be in bed right now, but I'm not. So you're going to get back out there and try it again.
I am?
Yes, you are. You're going to go out there and scare those kids. You're going to scare them for Annabelle.
Yeah.
And you're going to scare them for your marriage.
Yeah.
And you're going to scare them so I don't have to live in my parents' basement no more.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
David reaches for the door handle and stops and begins sniffing.
Did you too?
Hell yes, I did. You don't think I smell like this all the time, do you?
Do it again.
What?
2. Bigfoot supposedly smells bad, like rotting meat. We have to be authentic.
But I was excited. It just slipped out.
So get excited. Now.
Okay.
We're excited.
Yeah.
We're going crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock escapes.
More. Don't stop.
Another one. Bert.
Go.
A final Bert comes out and Bo collapses into a seat.
That's it. I can do no more.
They sit in silence for a second. Bo reaches to roll down the window.
We need air.
No, you'll waste it. It has to saturate. Do this.
Bo does so. His voice, like David's, becomes nasal.
My mother would be so disappointed in me right now.
You just hold on a second. I'm going to make both our mamas proud.
David opens the door and sprints from the truck. Bo rolls down the window with urgency.
AJ Delata, the only man who would dare to come to an MFA scene and open with a fart scene. Yeah. Okay, this next writer is a bit of a loose cannon. When we say loose cannon, it's like a horkin' gigantic cannon. Please welcome Steve Ashworth. Hi, my name's Steve Ashworth. Buzz actually wrote that joke for me. Thank you, Buzz. I didn't think it went over as good as the rest of the material. There goes my 5th residency. This is my 4th residency. I live in Canada, and I'm the only Canadian ever to be denied diplomatic immunity by the U.S. government. So I'm flying out tomorrow. But I'll be back in 6 months to give it another go. I wrote a play this time called Diplomatic Immunity. It's about a Canadian who comes to New Hampshire, take an MFA program in order to get U.S. citizenship. No, I just made that up. Okay, let's have the cast up. I wrote a play this time called Fire and Ice. It is a tragedy based on the murder of a Canadian family in February of 1880 on an isolated farm near Lucan, Ontario. A gang of vigilantes murders 4 family members and then burns down the farmhouse. In this short scene, the main character is being hung, or they are attempting to hang him, because he's the one vigilante with a conscience and he wants to atone for his misdeeds. The other 2 vigilantes have other ideas. In the background, throughout, we hear the sound of an Irish fiddle, and as the scene begins, our hero James Fahili has already been handcuffed and tied to a tree.
I didn't see a thing, Kennedy. You're full of shit as always.
And even if you did, you wouldn't tell us, would you? Because you're innocent and you're full of shit. Even if they hung all 29 of us, all except you, you'd sleep like a baby, wouldn't you? Well, baby, time for you to have a sleep.
As Kennedy unties the rope that he used to secure Fahili to the tree, the fiddle starts to scream.
What are you doing?
As soon as the knots are untied, Kennedy and Carol very aggressively lift Fahili to his feet.
What's happening? Let me be, you bastards!
Although still handcuffed, Fahili begins spinning wildly in a desperate attempt to free himself from their grasp. Kennedy finally jumps him from behind and gets Fahili in a chokehold.
You'll never get away with this. What are you blackguards doing? Help! Help me!
Kennedy starts choking Fahili so hard he loses his voice, begins coughing uncontrollably again. Carol expertly tosses the noose end of the rope over the largest branch hanging above Fahili's head, catches it as it falls, and quickly fastens it around Fahili's neck. In an instant, Kennedy lets go of Fahili, grabs the free end of the rope, and pulls so violently that Fahili's nearly lifted off the ground. Although he still has both hands handcuffed in front of him, Fahili instinctively grabs at the noose around his neck, tries to loosen it. Gurgling sounds come out of Fahili's throat as he desperately tries to scream.
Another vote, Fahili. Inner circles have another vote. Unanimous! We vote to eliminate the weakest link. Weakest link has to go. That's you, Fahili!
Kennedy pulls hard, once again on the rope, and now Fahili's feet are off the ground. His eyes close as he starts to lose consciousness.
Can't have another loose cannon like you wandering around the village, accusing us of crimes we didn't commit, can we? Unless...
Carol nods his head, and Kennedy releases the rope, sending Fahili crashing onto the snow-covered ground. Desperately, Fahili tries to pull the rope from around his neck, can't loosen it. Before Fahili blacks out a final time, Kennedy pulls out a knife, slides it between the rope and Fahili's neck, and cuts the noose. A small drop of blood appears on the side of Fahili's neck. Fahili continues to cough and wheeze as he tries to take in oxygen as fast as he can. Finally, he falls face first in the snow.
Unless you swear on the book.
From under his coat, Carol pulls out a Bible, drops it into the snow beside the fallen Fahili.
Swear on the Holy Irish Catholic Bible of your temporary ancestors. Swear on the soul of your father. Look straight into the eyes of Mary, Mother of God herself, and swear that you will never testify against us.
After a beat, Carol nods again. Kennedy then walks over to Fahili, slides his boot under one wrist of Fahili as it lies unmoving in the snow, lifts it ever so gently over to the Bible, and drops it onto the book, so that now one of Fahili's handcuffed hands is resting on the fallen Bible.
I swear.
Originally wrote that as a comedy. The boss said change it. Writer number 5. This is an author that over the last 8 days is the only author amongst us who's had the honor of having her last name mispronounced by Buzz 40 times. So please welcome, for reader number 5, Judy Sitchamuch. How do you say that, Buzz? Judy Sachi.
I wrote a play, and I'm Judy Sachi with a Z, and this is my second residency, and I wrote a play called Plaid Skirts. The situation is that the Catholic school is going to be closed down by the bishop, and the principal is trying to save the school and invites her 3 best friends from, the time they haven't, most of them have not seen each other in over 30 years to try to help save the school. But during this, a lot of secrets unveil. And our main character, Jamie, who will be played by Karen Sunday, the only thing I just really want to say is it's her story. She's a woman who thinks she's going to save all the girls, but actually winds up saving herself through the end of the story. And where's...
I'm right here.
Oh, okay.
I was just trying to cross down.
Just going to do stage directions, but tell her where we'll be.
Yeah, I don't know.
We changed what we were going to do. So where we're going to pick up right now is Janie has been forced, all these women are like, early 50s, because this is like 30-something years after they graduated. And the man, Joey. Joey was the boyfriend of Janie, and where we're going to pick up is Janie was forced to reveal a truth to him, and the truth was he fathered a child with her. She had the baby, gave it up for adoption, and never told him. So where we're going to pick this up right now.
You don't need me, because that's the only one that doesn't make sense.
Okay, no problem. Where we're going to pick her up right now is that Jamie is telling Joey what...
Well, by that time, I lost the girl I was. I kept seeing all the happy families leaving the hospital with their new babies. I wasn't allowed to even see mine. It was torture. I couldn't get out of my head that after he was born, they only let me hold him once. Once. The moment I delivered him, then they took him away. I felt him inside of me for 9 months and then nothing. I laid in that hospital room all alone until the second day the 3 ladies from the local church auxiliaries showed up. They supposedly didn't get the memo that I was an adoption case. They had knit baby hats for all the new moms. A very sweet grandma type gave me one and asked me the color of my baby's nursery and what I was going to name my son. I never told him my baby was gone. Gone with a new mom. Later that day, I paid the nurse's aide to get me one of the blankets that my son had been wrapped in so I could take something with his scent home with me. I kissed the hat 100 times and asked her to smuggle it into my son's belongings. And in some crazy way, I thought I was sending him home with a lifetime worth of kisses from me.
So writer number 6 is Sarah Ream, so we'll bring Sarah up, but Sarah's decided this time, rather than to do an excerpt from one of the pieces that she's done, she's the one writer who's decided that she would like to give you a sense of the piece that she's going to do in the next semester. So part of the process that Buzz is instilled into us, because it's in his book and we had to buy it before we started. You're going to look at me and what am I supposed to do? Anyway, this is part of the process which we love. And Buzz is a big, I can't bring it back after setting it up. Buzz is a big believer in pre-writing and lots and lots of work prior to getting to the actual draft. I know creative writing program looks at that as well. And so he uses the analogy of an iceberg, that the play or the piece, the screenplay or the stage play that we see is only maybe 10% of it, but the 90% of the real work, or the work that is the hardest, is all of that pre-work. And so Sarah's going to share for us part of the idea that she pitched, but it's part of her pre-work, and I'll give you a little bit of a sense of our process. So Sarah, will you bring the podium up? I didn't move it back here.
That was good, Steve.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you for that electric introduction. My name is Sarah Ream. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I'm in my 3rd residency, and I'm having mouse issues. My next semester's project is called Duende. It is a stage play about 2 flamenco artists, a husband and a wife, reminiscing about their careers at the end of their lives. I come tonight to tell you about Duende, the buried spirit of saddened Spain. In the year 1485, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain woke up one divinely inspired morning with the dazzling idea that all of their subjects should go with them to heaven. As monarchs ruling by divine right, they had the power to do so. Ferdinand and Isabella issued a decree that everyone must know the blessings of salvation, everyone, including the gypsies who had traveled to Spain from northern India, those dark-skinned people from northern Africa who worship the god with a strange name, and especially, most especially, the Jews. However, not all heathens succumbed to the Holy Inquisition. Not all died. Not all left Spain. Some of them escaped to the holy caves, the Sagro Monte, the caves in the cliffs perched high above the city of Granada. And there, Jew, Gypsy, and Moor gathered at nightfall around the fire to share their stories of heartbreak, of homesickness. As they told their stories, their torment transfigured into rhythms, and their anguish transubstantiated into low moans that erupted from their souls, the deep songs known as cante hondo. Their bodies began to move in response to the rhythms and the deep songs, and in so doing, they learned that they could exorcise their grief. For a time, for a brief moment of time, when life and death embraced so fully that immortality became a waking dream. And so they gathered every night around the fire to begin again, to reenact the duende. This, my friends, was how the art of flamenco was born.
Author number 7, we've had first with our Writing for Stage and Screen program, another author who's in their 4th residency. And this author has just had a book published. She just had it published on January the 1st, and so we're actually using it in the course. And she also taught a little section of the book for us. We had a little mini session, so to have one of our colleagues teach us on Friday morning, that was a wonderful thing. And actually, they've ordered copies of the book at the Toadstool bookstore twice this week, sold it out both times, and so tonight, Allison has graciously agreed that once we're done here, we're all going to go over to the bookstore. NHIE is going to pick up the tab. Please welcome Vicki Peterson.
Yes, so I am a screenwriter, but I wrote my very first play in this residency called Cleve. And Cleve is set in the far southwest corner of Kansas, in the Dust Bowl region. And the date always takes place on the day of production. So today it will be taking place on January 10th, 2015. And there are 3 actors in this play. We have Rachel, who is the wife of a self-proclaimed prophet. And then we have the founder, who is the prophet, and Berta, who is their neighbor. And this particular scene, this is set on the day that the prophet has prophesied that is the end of the world. And they are awaiting a mass exodus to come and to arrive. And the very first, what they think is the very first pilgrim to arrive is their neighbor, Berta, who's 14 years old. So, sorry, I can squeeze by it.
Name of the book.
Name of the book is called Notes to Screenwriters.
I don't want to hear
Let us pray.
Berta, this is the founder's groundbreaking work.
Are you a head or a tail?
Huh?
Head or tail, choose.
Head?
Wrong.
Tails?
Wrong.
Well, this is a shitty game.
Try to concentrate.
You are a type beta tail trying to be a type alpha head.
Actually, I'm a 32A trying to be a 36C. Please. Okay, go ahead. Impart.
Listen carefully. It is your pride that obscures your thinking. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. All will fall. But God told me that the only way to win the game is not to play at all.
Okay, so we're not playing a game.
Exactly. We must bear good fruit.
How?
By turning your reason into intuition and existemi.
What?
Reason comes from the brain. Intuition comes from the heart.
And X is sex.
The Lord will impart that to me when it is time.
Please welcome writer number 8, who's the youngest of the 12 of us this year. Coincidentally, yesterday he had his 16th birthday. 17th birthday. Tom.
This semester I worked in a screenplay called 30 Miles Off. I wrote a little blurb. I will now read you the blurb. After mysteriously receiving his cousin's journal weeks after her tragic death, Jeremy Washburn, wannabe beat poet and Jack Kerouac devotee, travels to Nantucket to uncover the truth surrounding her final days. There he uncovers the darker side of the Winter Island and must confront his own role in her fateful decision. So my actors are, this scene is Jeremy's cousin, Sarah, is teaching Jeremy how to write like the beat poets he so admires. And so this is a short excerpt from that. I'll read the stage direction. Cool. Jeremy starts typing immediately, slow and deliberate at first, but then faster and faster until the carriage return, levers, hammers, and re-rack bell all sing together in one mad, mechanical cacophony.
Stop thinking.
I'm not.
Stop thinking. Speak it. Speak it as you type. Now!
I see it all. I see it all. I see it all. Life, this life, my life, our lives, intertwined in some crazed drunken Saturday night brawl.
More.
The endless groping madness of it all.
That's it. Go!
Like a lonely hobo's piano key smile, all flats and sharps laid out before me in one insane, sprawling mass of decaying and decayed, but still a smile, which is the most important part.
Yes!
She throws a record on the turntable, frantic bop blares. She dances wildly around the room. Frantically, amazed, possessed.
Talk about hope. I see hope in a hobo's smile, all sick and downtrodden and weary with the world, but smiling just to smile. To feel his cheeks stretch out to each coast, and his eyes squint, and his nose ping with sad relief like a just lost sneeze. Catching this paper-thin form and sending him reeling out over the Great Plains and the greater Rockies, curring our hearts and filling our minds with that old American sadness and American madness. I live for the hobo's smile.
Jeremy stops. He leans back. Sarah turns down the music.
There you go, Kerouac.
Thank you.
All of our screenplays and plays are usually 90 pages, which means they're 90 minutes. But because Tom talks so fast, his are usually 20, 25. Welcome now, writer number 9. He is not just a writer, he's also an actor and a director and a video game entrepreneur. Ben Barlone.
We're running out of time, so I didn't realize we were all going to be roasted tonight. I wrote a piece set in 1863 during the American Civil War called The Hireling and the Slave. And it's these two minor guys from that time. One is named Abraham Lincoln. The other is named Frederick Douglass. So you've never heard of these guys before. But they met, and they met up, and they did things. And they met, we don't know what they actually said, so my play is that. And this gentleman right here, Bob Lawson, will be reading Mr. Lincoln. And Owen Robertson will be reading Mr. Douglass. Thanks.
You should hear the things being tossed around back at home. The rebels are at least fighting for something.
How do you fight a man, Douglas?
Excuse me.
If there's a man in front of you and you think he deserves a few good kicks, how would you do it? Do you hit him outright? Do you dance around until he's tired?
I'd remind him that I did not survive years of slavery by turning the other cheek.
Oh, so you let him swing first. And then he reveals everything because you know what fires him up,
If you're getting to a point, just get
there.
there.
The rebels fired the first shot at Fort Sumter for no other reason than they wanted us out. We didn't force them into doing a damn thing. It's only after they pointed the gun at us and declared they were fighting to keep their slaves that we could say anything about freeing them.
So our position is simply to retaliate.
They picked up the chessboard and chose the white pawn to move first. That makes us black.
But we aren't doing anything with the black pieces, except pretending they are white and trying to bring them back to the right side of the board. And God forbid any black pawn reach the other side!
Always been a checkers man myself.
Writer number 10, Jennifer Potts, making her way up here. She's not just a writer, she is a mother of 5 children. 5 children before the age of 30, actually. Yes, and she turned 31 and has... Yeah, all right. Jennifer Potts.
I wrote a screenplay. It's called Star for Cecily. It is about a 7-year-old girl named Cecily Blinkstop who conjures up an imaginary friend in order to bring healing to her family after the loss of her baby sister. Her family is completely, the setup prior to the scene is that her family has completely lost life. There's no color, there's no laughter, no music, no love left in their lives. And so this is where the scene starts. Let me just figure out what I said we were going to do. Okay. Cecily, dressed in a cotton nightgown, kneels by her bed.
Dear God, thank you for Mommy and Daddy and Barney and Kimmy. Please hug Amelia for me. I miss her.
Cecily pauses and takes a deep breath.
I have no one to talk to, except Barney, and he doesn't talk. Mommy and Daddy are sad. Kimmy's always angry. I just wish I had someone, amen.
The moon shines down on a very quiet and lonely-looking house. There is a light on in a little window at the top of the house. The light goes off. The next morning, the morning light shines in through Cecily's little window. Cecily opens her eyes, and lying in her little bed, right next to her, is Amanda Jane, a young girl about the same age as Cecily. Cecily shuts her eyes real tight and opens them again. Amanda Jane is still there. Cecily shuts her eyes real tight again, moves her face a little closer to Amanda Jane, and opens them. Amanda Jane is still there. Cecily holds her breath, shuts her eyes again real tight, moves her face right in front of Amanda Jane's face. She opens her eyes. Amanda Jane opens her eyes and looks at Cecily. Cecily jumps out of bed really fast and starts circling the bed. Amanda Jane smiles. Cecily smacks her own face over and over and pinches her cheeks. She talks to herself in a chanting fashion.
I'm dreaming. I must be dreaming. Wake up, Cecily Blinkstop. Wake up!
Amanda Jane sits up in bed and smiles, amused, watching Cecily circle her. Cecily stops directly in front of Amanda Jane, puts her hands on her hips, and leans in real close to look at her face. Cecily takes her hand and very slowly touches her skin. She sits down on the bed right next to Amanda Jane, staring straight ahead as in shock, with a huge grin growing on her face. Cecily jumps up again and starts pacing around the room frantically, suddenly getting faster and faster. She stops.
God heard me.
Yeah.
So this is our 11th writer, and this writer just had their reading just this afternoon. We did 2 again today. We've been doing 2 a days. So it's just 4 o'clock. He just finished the reading and gave him his feedback, and now he's here to present. So this is exciting for us. So writer number 11, Jared Eberline.
I'm Jared Eberline, 4th residency. I wrote a play. It's called Precious Thieves, and it's about 4 parents in search of just a little bit of grace in the world as they navigate the aftermath of their children committing some pretty heinous crimes. We had not too many problems this afternoon in the reading, and the least of them was people didn't refuse to turn to page 2. So we will give you page 1. This is Tom Residency, and it's just page 1, and it will probably make no sense in the context of the story I've just explained. but maybe you'll want to read the other 114 after you
Act 1, Scene 1, the porch. Lights up. Richard, 55, a well-dressed, powerful-looking man, waits anxiously on the back porch, a phone to his ear. Richard, come on, answer the phone, you pain in the ass. Hangs up. Jams the phone in his pocket. He shifts back and forth, sits down on the porch step, and almost immediately stands back up again. Tries the door once more, still locked. He surveys the backyard, then, desperate, pulls a pistol from his waistband. With the butt of the gun, he gently taps the pane of glass in the door, then harder. His feet stammer in place. Then with one last controlled jolt of the pistol, glass breaks into the kitchen floor. He reaches in, flips the lock, and throws open the door. Lights up inside. A small, dated, avocado appliance-heavy kitchen. Richard brushes in, tosses the gun on the table, and exits through a door upstage to an offstage powder room. Silence. Then, the sound of a full bladder emptying. Richard's euphoric sighs of relief echo through the house. Flush. Richard enters, adjusting his fly. He examines the snag in the arm of his suit jacket, dials the phone again while assessing the window damage. Richard, leaving a message. This is Richard Monroe for the third time. You're the physician here. Call me back. Richard hangs up, tosses the phone on the table, and sits down, nervous. Unable to sit still, he gets up, digs under the sink, finds a dustpan set, and begins to sweep the glass. The front door unlocks. Richard freezes.
Two themes I've noticed tonight are farting and peeing. So that's my lead-in to our final writer. Thanks, Elizabeth, for that laugh. This writer is not presenting anything because he just started at this residency. So he's our 12th writer. And because we only had one writer come into the program, he really truly is in a class by himself. I try to just play. This is the artist known as William.
Like I said, my name is William Benjamin. It's my first residency, so I didn't have anything presented this week. I just kind of sat in the room and gave my feedback. As we started the week off, we had to all pitch what we wanted to do over the next semester. So I'll tell you a little bit about it and then give you a kind of a little myth that exists in the world of what I want to create. My piece is called Chicken Rider, The Hunt for the Coyote. It is a Western. It has the lone stranger, the mystery man that rides into the town. But he rides a 6-foot rooster named the Colonel. The myth is about why chickens don't fly. Long ago, when all of the birds lived at the bottom of a great mountain, a mountain so great that its peak was above the clouds, all these birds lived together. And when their time came, they would take a little pebble to the top of this mountain, and the great bird spirits would judge them and give them their purpose in the world. One day, when it's finally the chicken's turn, it takes a particularly speckled little pebble, and it starts flying. For about a half a day, it flies upwards, and then terrible gusting winds hit it, trying to slam it down into the wall of the mountain. It fights. It flies for 3 days through these terrible winds, finally finding relief when it breaks into the clouds. They're thick, choking clouds. Can't see, you can barely make out which way's up or down. And by faith alone.
I would just like to introduce our faculty real quick. Kate Clark, will you stand up? Karen Sunday. Russell Davis, where are you? And Bob Lawson. Chicken Rider. This is the kind of talent that Buzz is letting into the program. See, Buzz sees things that we don't see. He doesn't just scare us, he knows stuff. So Allison, you're back up now. Thank you.
About months ago, I got this phone call from this guy that I couldn't really understand very well because he had this like strange Canadian accent. He's been sending me money every so often. He doesn't know that I don't send it to the American government. Just keep coming, Stephen. Coming. And he like totally ruined my organizational structure. Very structured under here. Very structured. Okay. Back up.
Okay.
So, you can come on. So, anyway, this is the last residency that we're going to have this particular event because obviously next residency we're going to be celebrating graduate students on this evening, and so we're going to think how we can still do this because I don't know about you, but this is phenomenal. So first of all, I want to invite Craig Stockwell to introduce the artist whose work is on the wall and also say a happy something to your
First of all, one very important topic in contemporary art over the past 15 years or so has been the sense of place. Since we're in New England, Dana, can we have an update on the football score?
We're in the third quarter, Ravens have the ball.
Wait, here's 28?
Yes.
That's a tie.
Yeah, third quarter, Ravens have the ball.
Thank you. So I spoke with the students this morning and said how once again I was bothered by having to put up exhibits. As an artist and as a faculty, I'm so involved in process that to me, I'd be almost happy with a dumpster out the back door of the studio and you just put it right in there because it's just working. It's the most interesting thing. But of course, I also said, I walk in here tonight, it's phenomenal. And thank you to Allison, Chris, and Lucinda. Anyone else who helped?
Ben and Melissa and Camelia.
Yeah, really, really nice job. And what strikes me so much is, we've looked at these things in big bunches all week long, and how being here tonight, seeing things both in isolation and in relation to each other is so good. And I think there's an obvious metaphor there, right? You get it? Writers, you get that metaphor?
That's great.
Anyway, I would also, speaking of isolation and community and such, I think, Jason, you should come up here. We should get everybody up together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's Jason? Jason Landry, the director of photography.
Yay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, do you want to say anything about things in general first?
Well, I had written down something really small. I just wanted to say that these are the 11 invisible Herculean manuscripts that the photographers and they didn't write, and they won't write. It's been a great 2 years, and we do have 11 students in the photography group. They're all vastly different in their styles and sensibility, and I'm lucky to have them. It's a great thing to be able to live vicariously through the successes of others, and I do it every day in my gallery and at the school. And I just want to thank all of the students and the faculty that are up here working with me this week, of Lindsay Beal and Francine Weiss. And the rest of the faculty are not here, Stephen Sheffield, and we have visiting artists Stephen Dorado, and Jim Fitz, and Tom Adams.
Cynthia Atwood, Lucinda Bliss, Brian Bishop, Who else? Samuel Rowland and the other faculty. Thank you to all the art faculty and of course many who aren't here who have already gone home or gone elsewhere. So thank you.
Yeah, Tom is here.
Todd's here. Todd Bartel. What we did last week, this is really embarrassing and really kind of silly, but just to be able to connect faces with work, all of you, photographers and visual artists, everybody, go and stand in front of your work. Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
Back on the bus.
No, not yet. So, I want to say some really big thank yous. So, first of all, I want to say thank you to Craig Stockwell. I didn't get flowers this time. Check. Jason Landry. Lance McLaughlin. Monica Bilson. Many people, many people, she's kind of like quiet and in the background, and she hides a lot down there. But Camellia Sousa did just amazing job at helping, pulling everything together, just being incredibly supportive here, helping us set up with the Writing for Stage and Screen people, and just in general over the last couple of years with the Sharon Arts Centre. It's just, you call her up at 11 o'clock at night and say, it's going to be -20 tomorrow, we have to reorganise the bus, and she just goes ahead and organises the bus. And it's just amazing to have you, Camellia, helping. And that other person who's not quite so quiet. Sometimes he's quiet, but mostly he's not. The instigator of many things. Chris Archer, who just is my right. Not be possible. Cute. And then, of course, the woman who you think I'm the boss. So we got her a bag that says Boss Lady. That would be for you, Boss Lady. I'm so happy to be bossed by Emily.
And thank you to all the students and faculty for such a wonderful, very full 9 days. And in the creative writing department, Tim has presented the concept of Eric LeMay's concept of word hoards, which is brainstorming words about something. So on the bus over, we word hoarded about Allison.
Oh,
and the words
the F-bomb came up like
range from very, very profound, elemental, to very ridiculous, fergalicious. And here are some of the things that came in between. Fiery, potent, determined, evaluative, strong, spunky, tenacious, essential, dynamo, bold, buoyant, human. So, on behalf of the faculty and the staff and the students, a very big thank you for your vision, your commitment to student and faculty experience, and your determination to make this an academically and artistically rigorous program.
Thank you. Kent, the president, couldn't be here today because his wife has been really sick, so that's a shame. But thank you. I know I'm going to cry many times in the next few months as we move towards the graduating students, and then I'm going to cry again then, and I cry every day anyway, so. It's the endless crying. Well, first of all, like, how amazing is it to be in a room of like-minded people, just forging forward to do what is in our bottom of our hearts. And so I think you can look around and just think how amazing this is. And we come together for these 10 days so that we can soak it all up and blow ourselves open, and so that we can go away and go back into the world and do it all again. And so I'm just so incredibly proud of you all for just, I don't know, just being brave enough to be here again and again. So thank you for that. And then the first time that we stood here, there were 16 of us, and all ragged, and I had found this amazing quote from Marianne Williamson, which has been misquoted as being from Nelson Mandela and many other people, and it's just the greatest quote, and I thought to end the semester I would read it again, because I think about this a lot as I go forward, and I think that we all can do with great words to help us as we go forward, and we've heard many great words tonight. So, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. We are all meant to shine, like children do. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So go forward and be liberated. And liberate.